There we are. I should do some intro music for the wine club specifically. That's what we should do. I feel we need our own theme tune, Christine.
We do. We need corks popping and glasses clinking.
Oh my god, I could waste hours doing that. It would not be necessary, but I could spend hours doing it.
Yeah.
Welcome to the October Wine Club. This is I guess a bumper one slightly for Sober October. We have all of these things here to try. Some of them Christine wasn't entirely happy with, to be fair.
Well, some of them I didn't totally know about, so
I still have to win Christine over on the square root soda. so I'm hoping you're all with me here. But anyway, today we have got sparkling Scavi and Ray. Do you say it Scavi?
Scavi, I should say.
Scavi.
Yeah.
Definitely Scavi doesn't sound right, does it?
No.
We've got Lindemann's alcohol-free Chardonnay. We have got the de-alcoholised Darling Cellars Shiraz, which is rather nice. We have the square root soda,
which remains to be seen.
We have Saicho, which is a sparkling Hojicha tea. And so we will tell you about all of these. We're going to go through them from left to right, starting with the sparkling. Now, actually, for a long time, Christine, this was one of the only sparklings really on the market, wasn't it? That was decent, right?
Yeah, that's right. And of course, that part of the market's really exploded now. You know, we've tried several other sparklings. And I think, you know, a lot of people think that sparkling de-alcoholised wine is probably the best option. It's the easiest to make taste good. But, you know, credit where it's due that this company, Scavi and Ray, got there early in the day. And they're a proper wine producer. They're well known for their Prosecco. So
I was going to say, is it a Prosecco?
Well, it's not. You can't say it's a Prosecco because, you know, to be a Prosecco, it would have to have alcohol. So I don't know why you're looking at me.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this could go terribly wrong. Right. Oh. Come on, there must be a trick to it, right?
Yeah, but I didn't say that I was any good at it. Here we go. We've got it. It's going to be an almighty pop in a moment. Maybe.
Is it because you've been shaking it around, Christine?
I have not been shaking it around. It's just a tight cork. Anyone watching this who is a sommelier will be wincing. In fact, they'll probably be hiding under the table now. I'll never be able to face anyone ever again. Ever.
All right, this is it. This is the first test.
It's nearly there.
It's nearly there.
Oh, God.
Do you need me to go for that?
You did.
Should I get the last bit and I pretend I did it? Oh, you just loosened it for me first.
Indeed.
Oh, goodness me. I feel like it's stuck at the end.
I've had to sit so many times through sommelier competitions where poor sommeliers have to open magnums in front of everybody.
Is that a bad sign that it's so tight?
Oh, no, it's a good sign.
It's a good sign. This is a good sign.
It's a good sign. It means, you know, the air hasn't got in and oxidised it, so it's...
These guys already make Prosecco. They've had this on the market for a long time.
Yeah, they're based in the Veneto. So the Veneto is that kind of northeastern bit of Italy where Venice is, and it's the area that Prosecco comes from.
Is this the way to pour? Am I getting
possibly not, but I mean it's poured. That's good.
Is there a proper way to pour sparkling?
Well, so the general idea is because they have the punch in the bottle. You put your thumb, the punch is that sort of big, deep dip in the bottom. And then you put your thumb there and you put your hand underneath so the label's on top and then you pour it looking very cool.
I'm going to be cool next time we have sparkling.
Okay.
This was when I first came across this blew my mind because it was one of the first alcohol-frees, and so if anyone came to a festival a few years ago, I made them have it under the counter, the guys who represent them, and people keep going up going, can we try one of Laura's special glasses of fizz, because Scavi and Ray didn't actually come to the festival, but I knew somebody who supplied it, and it was also Mum's Net's favourite for ages and ages and ages, so smells like a wine.
Yeah, and I think it looks and smells very like a Prosecco.
Lovely bubbles.
Yeah, nice bubbles. And it's got that nice sort of Italian grapey aroma.
And again, you know, I liked this one in particular because it's a lot drier on the palate. It's got that biscuity taste, which I really like, and also slightly buttery.
Yeah, yes, although interestingly, kind of biscuity and buttery are more champagne characteristics, whereas Prosecco is more, on the whole, more fruity. But I think this does the whole thing, and it's got that, the fruit is sort of melon, apple,
yes,
maybe a bit citrus, but it's got that really nice ripe pear. Pear is always a note you get in Prosecco, which this is clearly related to, although it can't be called Prosecco.
I always like to say gooseberry because none of us quite know what gooseberry tastes or smells like.
Well, you obviously didn't grow up with my grandmother, or you would know.
So, but it's a beautiful, slightly dry. This would be wonderful to have to take with you to a party. It actually, labelling wise, it doesn't look too much different from the alcoholic version either. So most people probably wouldn't know that it's
the authentic bottle for the region, the Collio bottle, and you know they are a Prosecco producer. So truly, I don't think anyone would realise this was something different. I don't think it's as dry as you say it is. I think there's a chunk of sweetness there, but that's not so unusual for Prosecco. Some of the best Proseccos do have a bit of sweetness in them.
I think because I'm so used to some of the alcohol-free wines and drinks being so sweet, I always very notice when something isn't as sweet, and I guess that's my comparator. So you're right; it's certainly sweeter than has a sweetness to it. Yeah. And is it definitely 0.0? I can't even see the ABV on it.
Yeah, it is 0.0,
which is really good for a 0.0.
Oh, it's very impressive. Yeah,
it's because it's definitely got some sort of body to it and a viscosity to it. It's not too thin.
Yeah, it absolutely has, and it's it's not bad on the calories either. 22 calories per 100 ml. So
nice.
You've probably only got about 15 calories in that glass. So
brilliant.
You know, it's the way to go, isn't it?
I really like it, and in terms of sugar, where would you put it?
Well, it's got quite a bit. It's got 4.9 grams for 100 ml, but you know, we know that the de-alcoholised wines always do have more sugar in them than the alcoholic ones, but they don't have the alcohol. You know, sugar, the molecules of sugar and alcohol are very closely related, so they give the texture and weight. You just don't get the alcohol.
Yes, so, and the sugar in this definitely helps with that weight and that mouthfeel.
There's something I really like about this. Every time I try it is the finish. So you know, in wine terms, the finish is after you've swallowed the wine, or in my, you know, if I'm in my sort of professional life, spitting it out, and then you kind of see what taste is left afterwards. And Scavi and Ray always makes me think of sort of baked apple and blackberry kind of crumble.
You're right, because actually, it's got that buttery and biscuity, and then an apple and blackberry. Yeah.
And in a good way. And although it sounds counterintuitive, this would definitely work as an aperitif, and it would work as well. This would work very well with, you know, kind of charcuterie. So or plant-based charcuterie, if you have it with something that's kind of salty and savoury.
Definitely would cut through that salt.
Yeah.
Or Marmite on toast.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it would be massively good with Marmite on toast. Marmite and cheese on toast.
Well, if you forced me, or Marmite and cheese on a sourdough crumpet.
Okay, let's move on.
The other thing to say is a good sparkling like this is brilliant for making an alcohol-free Aperol. So if you were to pick up the various, like the Italian spritz from Lyre's, or you were to pick up some 3/4 ounce in Waitrose, or you were to pick up even a Crodino now that it's come out again, and add it to that, you would get yourself a very lovely alcohol-free Aperol spritz.
But the other thing that's particularly associated with Prosecco is the Bellini and all of the other drinks that kind of follow on from that.
Sophisticated.
So yeah, the Bellini was created in Venice, and it was sort of peach juice with the Prosecco on top. But you can put sort of any fruit. You can mash up some strawberries or some peach, or you've got juice or whatever.
And you can even buy the ready-made syrups and pulps that can go in the bottom. They're all alcohol-free generally, so
absolutely.
It means that you can then make it a really easy Bellini. So
Bellini is a really nice way to go. Elderflower as well. You know, and this kind of thing is very
versatile.
Prosecco is popular for a reason, and this, you know, will be good for the same reason.
Wine.
Okay, that's set me up quite nicely now.
Oh, right, where we're going next? We're going to the Chardonnay.
Well, it's a
fresh glass, like a grown-up.
Well, you know, this is a wine tasting.
I know.
Laura.
I'm learning.
Yes, we've got the spittoon, we've got the corkscrew. The fact that we don't need the.
Do you know, if you'd have to be really good at spitting to be able to spit into that spittoon. It's so far away.
Look. I am a professional. I have to have it on the table. Okay, it's the way things are done, and the same with the corkscrew. I know that none of them has a cork to take out, but you know,
that's fine.
It's a wine tasting.
Absolutely. Oh yes, I've got the Chardonnay here. Here's the Lindemann Chardonnay. Lindeman's been sponsoring the festival again this year, so that's really cool. I'm always very grateful for them for that. And the Lindemans can be found in. Oh God, I'm having a terrible time with the dogs today.
There's a trick to that.
Oh, I've done it now.
Right,
I've loosened it for you.
No. With screw cap wine bottles, you don't try and take you take the whole capsule at the top, and you turn the bottle, and it breaks the seal, and then you undo the cap at the top.
How am I this old and didn't know that?
Who knew?
I mean, it's not like I didn't drink a lot of wine before.
No, but look, you know, consider my background. I worked with sommeliers. They're used to doing all of the corkscrewy bit. You know, you can't just sort of go.
No, they need that.
But actually, it makes it so much easier.
It does. So everyone, the whole thing, twist the whole bottle into the thing and take it out, and everyone will go, oh, you might be alcohol-free, but you know your stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So they can go ahead and pour them.
Well, so this is a 0.5%, and this is, you can now find Lindemans in all the supermarkets, including Morrison's and Asda and all of them places.
Yeah, and there's a bit of a recurring theme, I think, through the tastings we've been doing for the wine box, which is that Australian companies, particularly from Southeast Australia, Hunter Valley, that sort of thing, they seem to have really dived in to de-alcoholising wine and doing a good job. And Lindemans is, it's another of these sort of great historic Australian wine producers with really good credentials.
And carbon neutral.
Yes,
they've made their whole range, including their alcoholic range, carbon neutral.
Yeah, good for them. And it's actually a blend of two grapes. It's Semillon Chardonnay.
What do you mean by Semillon Chardonnay?
Right, so the one grape variety is Semillon, the other grape variety is Chardonnay.
So it's not like half a Chardonnay, it's
no. And I say Semillon. In Australia, they would probably say Semillon, because that's how it's spelled. It's a grape variety that started off in France, in Bordeaux, and they pronounce it Semillon. But in Australia, of course, it's Semillon. But it's a really good partner for Chardonnay, actually, because Chardonnay is quite fat, quite buttery, quite smooth, broad-shouldered.
Is it oaky?
Well, if oak is used, yes. But Semillon is more of a sort of a crisp, green, juicy, sort of herbaceous kind of flavour profile. And they are often blended together in Australia. And I think it's a really nice blend. I think you can taste both.
I like the smell. For me, the smell definitely says this is a wine. And this is a wine that you wouldn't be able to tell if it wasn't an alcoholic wine. And it gives you all of those things that you remember from alcoholic wine.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this has your gooseberries.
Oh, it does.
It does, doesn't it? It's
got something else. It's really fruity.
It's fruity, but it's zesty. And now this is, I think, for a de-alcoholized wine, remarkably dry. This is, I think, probably the driest de-alcoholized wine I've ever tasted.
That's really interesting. Yes, you're right. It doesn't. It has those fruity notes, and it has that gooseberry nose, but it doesn't give that on the tongue.
No, and it's got quite a lot of acidity. So, you know, wine people, winemakers in particular, they're kind of obsessed with this balance between sugar and acidity. And the acidity is the bit that makes your mouth water. You feel it down the side of your tongue and around your gums, and it makes you want to drink more. And I think this wine is really cleverly balanced, as we say.
And interestingly, it's, you know, because there are wines all across the price range in this space, and this is £4, £4 a bottle. Get it in the supermarket, you know, and it means that you can also use it in cooking and stuff as well. You won't feel like you've wasted a very expensive bottle. But for £4, I think that's a really good wine. 15
calories, 15 calories, 100 ml.
Oh.
So it's very low in calories too, but it has that. It's really, you know, sort of sappy and appetizing. It's got the nice broad, creamy feel that you get from Chardonnay, but it's really juicy and zesty.
Yeah, and I
think
think
it's terrific.
And I think Lindeman's coming over here with their alcohol free. They've knocked some of the other things that were on the shelf off. With their sparkling, their red and their white, and I really like their sparkling as well. Although that comes on for me slightly more sour than some of the other ones. It's an interesting sparkling. But yes, this I really like, and we had it at Queers Without Beers last month, and it all went. So the red and the white, so it was incredibly popular.
I think this is really good, and you won't go wrong with this at pretty much any sort of white wine drinking occasion. It's going to work with quite a bit of food.
Yes, I can definitely chicken, fish.
Trying
to think of
vegetables,
the vegan options.
Yeah, well, I was going to say cauliflower cheese, but that is not vegan. But
you could make it with vegan cheese.
Well, I suppose you could.
But actually, you're right. With nice cheesy dishes, this would cleanse your palate beautifully in between.
This is umami month. Have you noticed?
We're
having a
basically we have brought you all the things so far. Actually, only so far that go with Marmite and cheese.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, but this is lovely. So
yes,
well done, Lindeman's on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very impressed with that. Let me move these out the way because we're slowly looking like we've had a really great night.
Really good session. Yeah.
How do you measure the acidity of a wine? Is there a way to go, yes, this one's acidic and therefore really good, or this one isn't very acidic and therefore is there a good level of acidity, or is it about the flavours?
It's about the balance. So you can have some wines that have very low acidity, but they still work perfectly. You can also have, I mean, one of the things that used to happen in Australia a lot is that when, you know, wines were first made there and then exported, they were so much riper and more alcoholic than European wines because it was a hotter place.
Yeah.
And when grapes ripen, as they get more and more ripe, they get more sugar and they lose the natural acidity in the grape. So Australian winemakers used to acidify, not just Australians, but it was quite noticeable. And you know, you could add the tartaric acid afterwards. But the trouble then is, when you learn to taste wines, you start to notice that the acidity's kind of got its elbows out. It's sort of, you know, uncomfortable. So it's all about how the acidity is balanced and how it feels. And in the wine, the Lindemans we were just tasting, it feels really good. Feels, natural, integrated.
And I guess when you used to taste those wines that we'd all call cheap wines, they're almost vinegar, that's when the acidity goes too much.
Well, vinegar's a different acid. And somebody knowledgeable once said that wine is just a stopping off point on a grape's journey to vinegar. So, a grape starts in a vineyard and it's got sugary juice
but
in it.
Is the level of acidity measured the same way, or?
Yeah, but they're different acids. So there's tartaric acid, and then vinegar is acetic acid. And if you left a bottle of wine open for long enough, it would end up very oxidized, but you'd probably get some acetic acid as well. It would start turning a bit.
It's interesting because sometimes very early on, when there were very few wines on the market, some of our members used to put a few drops of red wine or white wine vinegar in their wine to bring the sweetness down and the acidity up.
Yeah.
But does that, I guess?
Well, that does make sense. Drinking vinegar. We'll have to do one of these months. There are some very good alternatives to wine that are based around vinegar, but there's a lot of different vinegars, and there are some you put on your fish and chips, and there are some that make really good glasses of something to drink.
We can come back to that, but I guess that's it for me. That's really fascinating because is there a good level of acidity? Is there a point where the acidity in a wine tips over and is not so good, or
there is.
You don't. It's not like you get the acidity on the back of a bottle. So you can't go, my favourite acidity is. Wait a minute. How do you is?
Well, bizarre.
7.26 grams.
You will, my famous crib sheet that Laura.
I've now got my own.
I printed one for Laura as well. It's so nice. But you will see for the Lindemans, I have got the total acidity and the pH. See, I am such a geek that I need to know those things. But I bothered to put them down because they were interesting. It's got high acidity and low pH. So the scientists among you will know that the lower the pH, the stronger the character of the acid. So it's
and that's a low pH, 3.39.
It is.
Oh, so we're about to go to one with a higher pH. I think maybe we should do all of our tastings not by ABV but by pH.
No, I do not think we should.
No.
I think we should.
So we're moving from Australia to South Africa. This is why Christine is in charge. We moved to South Africa now with the Darling Cellars Shiraz.
Yes, and we tasted a Darling Cellars wine back in July. We tasted their rosé, which was Grenache and Shiraz, I think. And we talked about them then. They're sort of a cooperative, really. It's a dairy farming area known for wildflowers in South Africa, and about 20 sort of growers got together and they built the cellars and made wine. And then, they've done really well. They've won awards in the Platter's Guide, which is the sort of who's who of South African wine and how good it is. So they know their stuff. They know their stuff, and they're obviously, given that this is the second de-alcoholised wine that we're trying from, they're obviously, they've made a real.
They've caught our attention. Yeah, and I wondered if some of that was the fact that, I don't know the history of them going into alcohol-free, and it would have had to predate COVID for them to have made that decision. Yeah. But during COVID in South Africa, they've not been able to sell alcohol.
Absolutely.
And, I think it's become a slightly more divisive issue than that, because I'm sure plenty of people have had access to alcohol and some haven't. But and I wondered if that might have pushed some of the producers in South Africa to think about alcohol-free as one way to work with their grapes. And Darling Cellars would have had to have been doing this pre-COVID, but it might not have been too bad for them to suddenly go, right, now we need to start hitting the UK market with that. And so they're now coming in a bigger way.
Yeah.
I think we'll see a lot more from Darling Cellars in January.
And my impression so far, based on the rosé and on this Shiraz, I think they're really good.
And I already I can smell the oak on this nose.
Yeah,
oak on this nose.
No, exactly. You know, oak. You would. There are different aromas with oak, but you would expect something spicy or toasty. maybe vanilla.
But Shiraz isn't
maybe
always
coconut.
oaky, is it? This one
No,
has been
But
made
it often is. You know, you get both.
Oh,
That's
lovely and fruity. I can feel the tannins. You know, it's coating my tongue. Oh,
it's got nice acidity, so it makes your tongue pucker up a little bit and go, "Ooh, give me another."
I'm drinking something different. This isn't pop.
It's definitely not pop.
Therefore, this actually, compared to some of the other two, this has the road humps in it for me.
Yes.
I know you like my road humps.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But you know, I can actually drink the Scavian Road quite quickly, and the Lindemans is quite easy drinking. This one says, "Take it slow, Laura.
Yeah.
You can enjoy this with your meal." And I wish I'd actually had this yesterday when my brothers took me out for a meal and we had steak.
Oh yeah.
Which I don't have very often.
Yeah. This would have been good. There's a lot going on in this wine. You've got the lovely fruit, and Shiraz, or Syrah as it's known in France and some other places, it tends to have, it's quite famous for having sort of black fruit, plummy black fruit, damson, that sort of thing, but also sometimes a note of violets, and in this case there's also the oakiness. And I think the Shiraz character comes through nicely here.
It definitely feels very dark fruity, so it's got all those lovely warming, you know, tastes when you have black currants and blueberries and all of that, but still has that oakiness that, and both on the nose and on the palate, that makes it sit really well.
Yeah, it's quite dry. It's really not overtly sweet, and it's not bad. It's 14. We're going down and down and down in the calories. We're down to 14 kilocalories per 100.
So there's only 1 calorie less than the old Lindemans. So
yeah.
But I'm really excited because if this is new product from Darling Cellars, and this says to me, if this is their first stab at it really, then there's a lot more to come from this vineyard. And that to me is, I mean, for those of us that are in this wine club, we're basically at the vanguard of alcohol-free wine. We know more than anybody else now. through these sessions, you know more than anybody else. So you're at the vanguard of a new movement, and you probably know more about alcohol-free wine than anybody else that you know. And so you should see some of these wines as a real, you getting an idea on what's going to come. And in my view, there's a lot more to come from this vineyard. And if the quality's as good or better than this, then that's really exciting.
Yeah. They really made an effort with this, and it's funny. You know, I'm doing a podcast and I'm getting to interview some people who make wines. I haven't been able to speak to anyone from Darling Cellars yet. I would love to, but actually I was talking to Amanda Thompson of Morty the other day, and she said for her, and I mean, you could say yes, she would say this, but she thinks that too many wine producers decide to make a de-alcoholized wine, but they don't love it, they don't care about it, they don't pick the really good grapes, they don't take the trouble that they take with their alcoholic wines. And I think when you come across something like this Darling Cellars Shiraz and the rosé we had before, they are clearly caring about it. You know, they're clearly making an effort, and good for them.
Yeah, so when you taste this, you need to know that these guys have taken the time to make sure that you enjoy this glass.
Yeah, I think they have.
And that's exciting.
They have,
just to be cared about, you know.
Yeah. Did you say it was vegan? Did you say it was vegan?
Is it vegan?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe it's vegan.
Not all wine is vegan though, is that right?
No, absolutely not. But I think it's vegan, which is nice.
And yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say. It's really good. Should we just finish now and just finish off the rest of the bottle, Christine?
Yeah, we could, couldn't we?
It'd be very easy. It'd be very easy to do that. This definitely is hitting all my buttons and is raising the game.
And it's got this finish I was talking about. I mean, the finish is really nice. There's a little bit of spiciness on it, some pepperiness, a touch of caraway is there, and it really has.
And it's still there. It's still there on my tongue.
It really endures. It really persists. So Yeah.
Awesome. I'm excited now,
Good,
right?
Really good.
I'm excited now. It's good because it's put Christine in a good mood for the.
Okay. So, look.
I bought pop.
Yeah, Laura's bought pop. Look, soda. I mean, I know it's Square Root, okay, and I'm a fan of Square Root. They're a really good company.
But I bought soda to your wine tasting.
Well, our wine tasting, soda's wine tasting, but
Yeah, right.
nowhere, even on that bottle, does it say it's pretending to be a wine or anything.
It's
a blackcurrant soda.
But
so.
I can tell you why I liked it, which is if you ever go into Covent Garden, there's Curb has got a new undercover food market, and if you've ever been in there, there is a cheese restaurant that has cheese on conveyor belts like in Yo Sushi.
Oh, really?
Have you never?
No, I haven't.
It's one of my favourite places, and each one of them comes with the right biscuit or the right chutney or anything like that.
Oh, that's
and
wonderful.
For a short while, actually a short while before lockdown, Square Root shared that space with them, and anywhere in that venue you can go and grab a drink from somewhere else. They actually have Lucky Saint on the menu.
Oh, excellent.
But I said to them that they needed to get the Square Root back, because what happened is when Square Root had their bar there, I went and grabbed one of these to have with the cheese, and I actually had it with a really strong goat's cheese, and for me it was a flavour combination that was beautiful. And of course sweet and cheese go together well, that saltiness of cheese. That's why we have chutneys and things with cheese. And so I thought it was a good way to you don't have to dismiss the soda that might be on the menu in a place that you go, if they've got a good quality soda or really good quality cordial actually, that might be on the menu, but might be slightly fruity if you're having something with cheese.
Yeah.
Am I winning her over yet? You can see her face.
Yeah, you're getting there.
So we've got cheese.
We have got some cheese. Yeah, we have got some cheese.
So I can prove my point. So I mean, it's worth saying that Square Root soda has a lot less sugar in than most other sodas. It's definitely a grown-up soda. Obviously, children can drink it too. There's nothing stopping them, but they use lovely fresh ingredients, which is why Square Root soda is both seasonal, but also because the lack of sugar, the lack of sugar in it means that you wouldn't be able to keep it in your cupboard forever like you would a Coca-Cola. This has got a 6-month shelf life on it. But yeah, you smelt that and you just went somewhere.
Absolutely. I'm suddenly in a field, with hedgerow and picking berries and things, and it's just that it's very sensational. And I as you brought it along, I read up on it, and I know it's black currants from Tom Maynard's farm in Sussex, and etc.
Yeah.
Look at them.
Look at
your own crib sheet.
Oh well, I've been to the factory. I've seen it being bottled.
Oh. Okay.
They're actually only up in Leighton, and they're always good to go and visit. And they've got their own bottling plant now, and it's quite exciting to see all the bottles go through there. So, what does it taste like to you, Christine?
Well, it actually tastes fantastic, I've got to say.
It's not like drinking Ribena. There's none of that big sugary chloriness.
No, it's completely not. It's lighter and fresher, and it's more vibrant, more herbal, herbaceous. So I'm afraid I was expecting fizzy Ribena, and I kind of know better because I know Square Root are really good. But black currant soda isn't something that I would ever pick up off the shelf, even if I wanted a soda.
But isn't it interesting how big brands in this space can dominate your thinking for so long, even though you know more about drinks. The minute you go black currant, you go, that's going to be a bit like a posh Ribena, when actually what this is a beautifully crafted, lower sugar soda with fresh ingredients.
It's really leafy, and it's delicate, but to my astonishment, I would say this has got some road humps. And I can kind of see why this is, something that you might try instead of a wine. It's sort of working for me.
Well, it would work for you instead of a wine. It would also work instead of a sour beer, for example.
Okay, right. I'm going to do the cheese thing. So got a couple of types of cheese
Stressful.
here.
Yeah.
This is all on you, Laura. So big chunks of cheese, but there you go. I only know how to do big. You can cut a piece
You
of that
only
one.
do. We can only do chunks of cheese.
Right, you cut that one, and I'll try a bit of this one.
We've got some Comte and we've got some cheddar. Can never go wrong with a good cheddar in my view, but I am from the West Country, so all right. So let's go for this. What's a nice cheddar?
It's not bad, actually, is it? Especially considering it's actually light. But, I didn't tell you that. Courtesy avocado. That's not bad.
If I got you an even stronger goat's cheese, can you imagine that? Maybe with a little bit of a biscuit.
Yeah, that's not bad.
So for your cheese course, you could go soda.
I'm kind of buying it.
There you are. Try a bit of Comte. Okay. When we did the festival last year, Square Root Soda did an interview with their supplier of lemons in the field where the lemons were grown. It was absolutely awesome because they know every single producer who gives them their fruit.
I thought you were going to say they know every single lemon.
It's possible. It's possible Ed and Robin have named each one. They're very passionate about their fruit, but that means that you can taste that in every mouthful of this drink.
Oh, that works with the Comte. That's okay. It was nice with the cheddar, but with the Comte, and I'm sure it would work the same with a mature Gouda,
strong cheese,
something strong, nutty. This works really well.
Thank you.
I am impressed. Okay.
All right, so we need a strong goat's cheese next time we get together, and you can see it with that. Or we could go to the conveyor belt in
conveyor belt cheese.
Covent Garden. I will just take our own, and we could do that.
Conveyor belt cheese.
It's amazing. You get to try all sorts of cheeses in.
I feel like Homer Simpson. Sort of beer, donuts, conveyor belt cheese.
So
Get
yourself a strong, salty, sort of pungent cheese and get this with it.
You know what? I am really impressed. I really wasn't sure. I didn't even think I would like blackcurrant soda, and I wasn't sure I could see this in a wine tasting.
I was hoping to take this one back though. I'm gonna have to fight you for it.
Yeah.
Damn! It's my favourite soda.
This is good.
So,
well, I'm impressed. That really worked.
So now we've got our final product, which is Sasho's. I keep saying it wrong, don't I?
Well, actually, I say Saicho, but I don't know if it is Saicho, but I think it is.
So this is hojicha. It's a sparkling tea, so it's not a kombucha. It's a sparkling tea made with hojicha. And I can tell you a bit about hojicha if you haven't got it on your crib notes.
I have got it on my crib notes, but go ahead.
Japanese and Chinese produce their teas in different ways, and so actually you'll find that Japanese teas are often processed using steam, and they give you a more seaweedy and umami taste, which is the difference between the teas. Which is why if you were to look at a sencha and smell a sencha, it definitely smells more seaweedy and it's smaller and all sorts. And Chinese tea is more leafy. Hojicha is really interesting because it's also it's a roasted tea, but they don't only use the leaves, they use the stalks as well, which also brings the caffeine level down. So it's quite a good tea to have after dinner. And when I first tasted hojicha, I just knew immediately that it went with chocolate, because that roastedness, that roasted flavour just lends itself well to going with a really good chocolate. So I think you brought us some chocolate today, Christine?
Yes, nothing but the best in this household. We have Freddos.
So we're going to do a tasting with Freddos.
Yeah!
Which themselves, these are not very many calories for one Freddo,
No,
is it?
they're really not.
It's a diet food.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, I did offer you some 90% cocoa dark chocolate, but we went for the Freddos.
So you should expect actually quite a roasted smell on the nose of this. What else do you know about it, Christine?
I know where the tea comes from, because I'm quite I love Japan, and I've been looking at Japanese sake many times, and this comes from Shizuoka Prefecture, which is where Mount Fuji is, and it's famous for growing tea. It's if you look at the Japan's kind of long and thin, and it's sort of below, it's southwest of Tokyo. It's very close to Tokyo. It's quite easy by bullet train, which is a whole other experience.
And I think the interesting thing about teas, which is why you find there's lots of sparkling teas in this space and lots of kombuchas, is tea's got natural tannins as well.
Tea is right up there with wine for its complexity. Yeah, it's probably the only equal. And
I would say better personally, but
yeah, possibly. And this actually has a little bit of white grape juice in it,
yes,
as well. So it's quite a clever blend. It would be very austere for some people's taste if it was just straight tea, I think.
Well, I have a different view.
Well, I would love it, but
it is. I mean, it's a roasted green.
It makes a more rounded drink.
It's a bit of grape. You're right. And that's why I think this goes. This is why it's here, because I feel this. We've had the cheese course, and this is now dessert.
Yeah.
And it's a roasted green tea, and so it's got all those wonderful things about green tea, but it's got a very different smell and nutty.
And I was going to say nuts. It's really.
Gosh, I love the smell of hojicha.
It's kind of nuts and seaweed, but in a good way.
Yeah. Good ice cream out of hojicha as well.
Ooh. Yeah, that sounds interesting.
There was a shop in Old Compton Street that did it, a Rupert Street, but they've now closed down. But they did a hojicha ice cream, but it's beautiful. Just smells nutty and roasted, and again slightly warming. But of course, with the grape juice in this, it's got a sweetness, and so
it's got a little bit of sweetness.
And I mean, it's really interesting because when we look at alcohol-free wines, we're all looking for the thing that isn't too sweet, and then I think, well, if you ever drank dessert wines, that was all about being sweet.
Yeah.
And therefore, what's the equivalent in this space? Because obviously, it's a very dessert wines are very complex. It's not just a load of sugar in to prop up a wine. They're beautiful wines. You've got ice vines and all of those sorts of things that make a dessert wine beautifully sweet. And so this to me has some of that complexity, but also has the sweetness that would go for a dessert wine.
Yeah, it's really interesting that we are seeing the sweetness a little bit. I mean, it has got some sweetness, but to me, just enough to round it out. And the flavour of it is very complex. And you'll find with wine tasting sometimes, oh, pardon me, the tasting notes are things that you wouldn't actually eat, but wine tasters get that. So this, as well as the nuts and the toasty notes, it has almost a tobacco sort of cigar-like character to it. It's a really nice way.
You're right, and that's, I guess, what I can never quite put my finger on, which is it's that slightly smoky, tarry cigar-like, which is why it goes so well with chocolate.
Okay, Fredo, sorry.
Go for head or feet first. Head first.
Head.
Lovely to drink on a lovely winter evening. Hojicha always reminds me of sitting in front of fires. You want your 90% dark now, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, you're going.
That does work. I think the dark might work.
But I think it might be even more sophisticated chocolate than a Freddo.
Nothing against Freddos.
No. Every chocolate has its place.
Doesn't it just?
The place is normally my mouth.
Yeah.
There
Right.
you go.
Thank you very much.
90% dark. That's quite hardcore. It's like the opposite end of the spectrum to Freddo.
Yeah. You going to try some?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
I need some more.
I probably do as well.
You know that this tasting's taken longer because we're eating.
And 5 products. Oh yeah.
I do love a really a proper hot toasted tea in the evenings with chocolate. So
that is absolutely fantastic. It's incredible because all of the nutty, savoury, cigar type notes of the hojicha just blend into the chocolate, but then it reveals there's a sort of a deep fruitiness in the tea as well. In the saicho, it's got a kind of a dried apricots character to it as well, which comes out with the chocolate.
Now you say the dried apricots, I can totally get it.
And also a touch of herbs, a touch of maybe spearmint.
Beautiful. It's just, you know, I feel so privileged that there are so many beautifully well-made drinks.
Yeah.
We've had them all here this evening.
Yeah.
And this, you know, is a beautiful way to have a beautiful tea.
This is terrific. I think this is my favourite of our tastings so far, actually. Not just because we had cheese and chocolate, but I really liked the products. I was really surprised by the soda, the Square Roux. I think they're all really good products, but I had not thought of having the Saicho Hojicha with chocolate at the end. I drink that. I've just been drinking it with meals by itself because I like it so much. But yeah, I think that's really opened up a new level with it.
I think what's interesting, the more that we do this box and the more that we try and work out the products that go in it and not just stick to de-alcoholized wines, but look across the spectrum, the more things begin to reveal themselves to us, I think. Yes. The more that we're beginning to work out how we can bring a box together. I mean, this box actually feels like a complete meal from start to end. We've been very lucky that we could put 5 products in this box, so we've got taupe as well, which isn't always the case. But I think I'm really keen that we can begin to talk to producers. I find wine producers the hardest to speak to in this space because there are these vineyards far away, and there's a way that wine works that actually makes it quite hard to talk to them about it. Yes. And I'm hoping that will change.
Yeah, I think it will take a long time. Wine producers, I think the majority of them really struggle with the idea of taking the alcohol out of their wine. And I think it's, they almost feel that it might harm their reputation, or, there's no kudos attached. And I think partly that will come with generation change. In fact, I almost think that the wine producers that will embrace this will either be, we have a generation change and you have a young, a son or daughter coming into the business and grasping what the modern world wants and needs and what's possible. But also, I think at the other end of their careers, where you'll get older, because it's often family businesses, you've got somebody older thinking, I just, can't drink as much alcohol anymore, and I wonder what we could do. But there's that gap in the middle where they're really making a name for themselves, and I don't think a de-alcoholized wine is what they want to make their name at the moment, but it will come.
No, but in the meantime, there are new products coming onto the market. We're trying to speak to them all the time to get them as part of this box, and I think we've got a lot more exciting stuff to come.
Yeah, but I think this particular tasting this evening is it's a real kind of proof of concept where we've taken how we drink wine and put products into that place that would not necessarily be seen as wine, and it's worked. It's worked really well. And
we've actually got a flight here, haven't we?
Yeah, yeah, we have. Yeah,
proper grown-up restaurant.
Yeah, proper grown-up. Really good. Fantastic. Enjoyed it. I'm going to eat the rest of the chocolate and drink the rest of the
cheese, chocolate,
now.
and hojicha. Perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
That's it. And we've gone on for nearly 50 minutes.
Wow.
So we'll leave it there, everybody, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah.